Hi, I'm Sophie, and I haven't seen a lot of movies.
Hi, I'm Paul, and I'm here to help with that. And we are
SP Film Viewers.
Hello there. Welcome to the episode. And this time we have two very special guests with us this time. We have Hayley and Zach from Laughing at Ourselves joining us this time to talk about the movie What If? Hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Thank
Thanks so much for having us on.
Are you very welcome? And glad you could join us to talk about this thing that you recommended to us. We'd not seen this film before, so I thought it'd be a good chance to talk about something that obviously means, or hopefully means something to you guys, and hopefully share the experience of what you got out of it and what we got out of it in watching it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm super stoked to talk about this movie. This was one that I almost wanted to bring to our podcast. So any opportunity to talk about this movie, I'm all in.
Great.
Brilliant.
So, if you don't mind asking, what's the thing that draws you into this in particular? Just a brief overall of what it means to you, guys.
I'll let Jack take it because
Oh.
he's the one who recommended it
Okay.
when we were going through everything.
Sure. So I've been debating whether or not this statement is true, and I think I'm going to say it. This is probably my favorite romantic comedy. I'm a big fan of Daniel Radcliffe. I loved Harry Potter when I was younger, still do, despite a questionable author sometimes.
Yeah.
But love his stuff, and I kind of love his post Harry Potter career. And I also love Zoe Kazan. And so I hadn't heard of this movie until I saw it on Netflix, not Netflix, Amazon Prime one day. And I just watched it, and I've watched it so many times since. It's like a comfort movie for me. I think it's a kind of pitch perfect little romantic comedy, inoffensive, not like the greatest film ever made, but I think a solid one to just kind of put on in the background. Hayley, what about you?
I've watched this movie multiple times, but I've never watched the middle of it, which is weird. I've only watched the beginning and the ending. So this was my first time all the way through.
Okay.
And I've enjoyed it every single time, I watched parts of it. But I love Daniel Radcliffe. I love Zoe Kazan. And I also love that who she's together with, her partner in real life is Paul Dano. And I love Paul Dano. He's my favorite actor. So I don't know. I'm a little biased, but yes, I love everybody in it. Adam Driver is also great in this too.
Yeah, I noticed. Thing I obviously didn't really know. Obviously, back then I wouldn't have if I'd have seen it back in when it actually came. Was it 2013? I think it was. I don't think I would have known. Obviously, he's grown to be a bigger star now with obviously Star Wars and Marriage Story and everything that he's a great actor in general and of everything. And funnily, when we were watching this, I don't know about you, Sophie, but I think there was parts of it thinking, I thought I hadn't seen this film before, but then there was like instances where I'm like, I'm sure I've seen that clip maybe on TV or something, or I've maybe caught parts of it.
I think we're a little bit like Hayley here, because I was thinking there is certainly I'm really bad for this. Like, I watch so many things on TV and then I'm like, and then Paul's like, have you seen this film? I'm like, no. And then I'm starting to watch it and I'm like, oh, maybe I have. Then I'm like, oh, actually, maybe I've just seen like the middle bit and then just walked out of the room. And he looks at me like, how do you do this? Like, but I think it was weird because I remember the fridge scene at the beginning. So obviously I must have started it.
Yeah.
But what did I do? Did I not finish it? But then I knew the ending, but the middle kind of blurred and I didn't know any of that, but I knew the ending, which is obviously, I don't know if it is a spoiler now, if if it classes as a spoiler or not.
but we
normally just go with it, don't we?
So, yeah, but it's a very, you know, like very happy ending, like you would expect from a rom-com thing. So
it is, yeah. Which is quite ironic for me because I love a rom-com. Mm-hmm. That's all I used to watch before I met Paul. I would not watch anything else. Would I?
No.
And this is why I think he slowly thought this is a good idea, because my movie knowledge is not that great, would we say? It's quite
very niche genre that you tend to focus on, like, I think, and then they've kind of like introduced you to more like you know, all sorts of different genres.
Yeah, I'm quite surprising myself. So it's quite nice to go back to a rom-com and see my views. Now I've kind of been open to all different kinds of films, which is really good. And actually, what the problem with Paul is opened me up to all these films that when I go back to films that I think I really liked, I start to pick at them. And it's like, thanks for that. I'd rather have not known.
Yeah, I think that's part of why I like this movie, because I'm not a big romantic comedy fan. Like, I'll watch them, but it's not kind of my genre. But I feel like this movie has almost everything that you would see in any other rom-com, which lends to, like, I feel like I've seen this. I've seen people talk about how, like, this was the 2013 version of When Harry Met Sally.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, it has so many things that I think a lot of other romantic comedies have, but I just like the way it does it a little better because of the chemistry of the characters. So,
I'm a big Harry Potter fan, aren't I? And actually, weirdly enough, I've been dragging Paul into the Harry Potter world. You started, I think, did you watch like to 4? And then
I remember
stopped.
seeing part of Order of the Phoenix a little bit, which I've now seen, and now I've just got the last 3 films to see now, which I've no concept of at all. So,
and I know it gets a lot darker, but I'm not gonna lie, I do love Harry Potter, but I was a Ron Weasley fan. Like, he was like the person who was on my wall as posters.
Rupert Grint.
I love him to bits. So I'm quite disappointed that actually hasn't had as much of a successful career as Harry Potter, because he was quite funny in Harry Potter, I thought. But Daniel Radcliffe, like you mentioned, his career has
blossomed.
Yeah. And so many things, like we watched Woman in Black, didn't we?
Yeah, recently. Because
that was like his first ever film after Harry Potter. And it is fantastic. He is a brilliant actor, isn't he? The only thing I did mention when we first started watching this, I was like, I hope he's not putting on an American accent. I don't think I could see Daniel Radcliffe as an American accent.
Yeah, I was a bit worried if that was going to be thinking, this is just a bit... Ooh.
I don't think he could have pulled it off.
He did it in Guns Akimbo, and it wasn't terrible. But if you guys, I don't know, I know you're into rom-coms. I don't know really what Paul's into too much, but it's a different movie. I enjoyed it. A lot of people didn't, though.
Okay.
Well, he also did an American accent in... what I think will become a timeless classic, Swiss Army Man. I don't know if you've heard of this movie.
My gosh.
No,
it has Paul Dano in it too.
It's Paul Dano and Daniel Radcliffe. I tried to put as much sarcasm into the timeless classic.
Yeah,
because,
I got that.
Yeah, because Daniel Radcliffe plays a farting corpse throughout the entire thing, but it's an American accent. And he plays a farting corpse that becomes best friends with Paul Dano, who is stranded on a deserted island. Probably the strangest movie I've ever seen, but has a lot of heart. And he has a decent American accent. So
for a corpse.
So if you are a big Harry Potter fan, you know, the Harry Potter movies, those are my like sick day movies. That's what I put on when I'm kind of. If you want to preserve the image you have of Daniel Radcliffe, maybe steer away from Swiss Army Man, but it's...
Okay, sounds interesting anyway.
You're going to make me watch that, I know that for sure, just to like ruin my Daniel Radcliffe thing.
But
I enjoyed it.
It's funny enough that obviously Daniel Radcliffe's doing his normal English accent, but the love interest of Chantry, his name's Ben, isn't it?
Yeah.
And he is a British actor, but he's putting on an American accent, which I kind of found.
He's in Hot Fuzz
as well, yeah.
And my favorite shot of any movie of him like coming in and out of frame. Yeah,
that was brilliant. Yeah, it is a great shot. That is.
And I want to extend this to Haley as well. You guys have said that you feel like you've seen parts of it.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys enjoy the movie? Like, was this a decent pick to go with, or just kind of it was a?
There was one part, wasn't there?
Yeah. There was about 20 minutes in, I think it was.
We had to pause it because I went into absolute hysterics because I could not believe it was true. And I think I'm not very good with comedies. So like anything with Adam Sandler in or anything like over stupid kind of gets me to a point of where like, I'm like, oh, this is daft now. I cannot watch this. And I kind of turn it off. And there was one point in this film and it was really bizarre because it didn't seem to fit in, did it? For me,
No, I agree because it kind of after that point, it's kind of lost its like. Where is this going with this? Where's the tone? His tone shifted with it. It's the part where he's obviously meeting Ben in the apartment or whatever, and he's rubbed a chili pepper or whatever in his eyes, and he's going my eyes kind of thing. Go to the back. And Wallace goes to the bathroom. And then he knocks him out the window and he flies down and he falls down in the street and then he's just face down on the floor. And it's like, that's a bit like...
It's so extreme. Like, I was like, oh, this must be like something that Wallace is thinking in his head. Like, this is what he'd want to do to this man, like chuck him out of the window kind of thing. So I was thinking, was it like a vision or something that he wanted? And I was like, oh, it must not be true. It can't possibly be feasible. And then we carried on going and Paul's like, oh, it's sounding to get a bit serious here.
Yeah, because then we go to the hospital and it's like the nurse is saying, oh, yeah, and it's like, okay, right, they're running with this. This isn't a dream. This is... Because they have that thing later on where he's in the car kissing his Chantry's sister and then that's like a vision in his head. So I was thinking, was there meant to be a thing where that was supposed to be the case where it was like this is just in his head, but now they run with it and it's like, okay, that's that, and that's the tone they went with, and it's like, that's odd.
I was just like, no way would that ever happen. It was like, I think in my head it was like a bit like a cartoon version of something. And I think for me that was a little bit like, okay, that's a way out of the norm of how things would happen. But then it has these lovely moments in it as well, which it's like the pure rom-com-y parts, which I really enjoy, that kind of then make it feel like there's two different parts to a film a little bit, because there is some really, really lovely moments. So I'm not sure, but it did make me chuckle. So
you were hysterics. Like, I was laughing because you were laughing.
I was near enough tears coming down my eyes at that point.
Yeah, I remember when I first watched it, like all the way through, I was just like, no, oh my gosh, he fell out of the window. I thought that was the end of it, and they were just gonna like, I don't know. I mean, he lived, and then it just got progressively more awkward with the X encounter. I was like, oh my gosh, just make this day end for them. But I enjoyed it. It had its character. It was funny.
I mean, I think I can forgive the falling out the window and that part being unbelievable, if only to get them in the hospital and to hear Chantry say to the ex, he's never even mentioned you. And just like how devastating that line is. And I love Chantry in this movie. Zoe Kazan is great. And I don't know if you guys have seen, she has two other movies where she's in the same realm of like, it's Ruby Sparks and The Big Sick.
I've got Ruby Sparks somewhere on my hard drive. I think I've not yet seen that, but I've got The Big Sick on my
I keep
Blu-ray
going
shelf,
to that, don't I?
I think that's something we'll look into, because if that's on the similar vein of the rom-com thing, then that's probably... I do actually like her character in this, and I do like the chemistry that Daniel Radcliffe and her have. So that might be another good watch to check out.
So I as I was watching this, I was like, I think Zoe Kazan has made like an unofficial trilogy of movies where it's those three, where it's her like taking on the Manic Pixie Dream Girl, because Ruby Sparks is Paul Dano's character writes a Manic Pixie Dream Girl, and then she comes to life,
right,
and like lives with her, and then the Big Sick is. She's kind of the Manic Pixie Dream Girl, but she actually gets sick, and then she does these things where it seems like it's that character of, oh, it's the male fantasy, but then she makes the character real, and it's I don't know, she does great work. So highly recommend those other two movies.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Haley, you're a big fan of Ruby Sparks, right? Or was it the Big Sick? I know you like one.
I love both of them. I love Ruby Sparks. I think that movie is so great. She wrote that with Paul Dano, I think, because she was I don't know. She wanted to do something that would kill that trope, and that's what they did, and it's fantastic. You should watch it.
Yeah, that will be definitely one for the list then, I think.
I know I keep pointing it out and you're like, oh, we'll just kind of put that one to the side. And I'm like, oh, but this one looks like a rom-com. I think I'm going to like this one.
Kind of. But it's good. They both are. But they're
definitely. We have to give them a watch, won't we?
Mm-hmm.
So with this kind of little romance that's blossoming, you kind of see the relationship, obviously, with Wallace taking an interest in Chantry, and it's kind of, already boy meets girl, and obviously she's got this long relationship with this other guy that actually doesn't seem to really have as much in common, probably, like the typical kind of
because of
romancy films, but you do see this kind of genuine kind of, I don't know how to describe it, not one of those typical rom-coms where this girl's really pretty, like she's just naturally
good looking,
pretty. Yeah, it's not anything like she's just completely blonde and everything like that and she's just perfect. She's just a nice
like very indie kind of thing, which is obviously this film kind of gives off that indie vibe anyway, doesn't it? So
it does. And I think that's the relationship with them, the way that they talk about anything, and it's very
natural.
Which I think she seems to have more kind of struggle with Ben a little bit, and you can kind of see that in where it's going to lead to in the end, even though you don't know how you're going to get there. But you've got some really weird characters, haven't you? So obviously you've got the one from Star Wars, but he's a brilliant he's so out there, and like one of those things that I think, because Daniel Radcliffe's character is so introvert a little bit, and he needs that push along, and this is what Alan
is the extrovert and just very more out there and moves very quickly, as we see throughout the movie.
He's got such long arms.
Very lanky.
This movie has a 2013, they may not have been as known, but Daniel Radcliffe, Zoe Kazan, Adam Driver, and then Mackenzie Davis, who plays Adam Driver's wife in this, like she's starting to get the rise up, because she's in, Haley, correct me if I'm wrong, she's in the that Christmas movie that just came out, isn't she?
That was her?
Yeah. The
what is it?
Perfect
Holiday Season.
Yeah, the Holiday Season, the one with Kristen Stewart, and it's the lesbian couple who
we were considering doing that for
Happiest Season.
Happiest Season.
We were going to review that, and then we went with Noelle.
Which I kind of wish we'd gone with the Happiest Season. Anyway, that's
maybe for this year, should we say?
Happiest Season kind of falls in the same vein of this movie, where it is doing a lot of things that other rom-coms do, but it does it kind of a little better because it's got people who have chemistry and they know what they're trying to do and what they're trying to say with the movie, instead of just like, let's pump out another movie. So
yeah, I think that's what it is. And I think they've got such likable characters, so they are really genuinely likable characters, and you do want the best for Chantry and Wallace. Like, you do want them to get together, even though there's a little bit of deceitfulness, and obviously Wallace is being the friend, but obviously wants more
clearly.
Which, yeah. And like, if that was kind of like, I'm guessing like if me and you had that situation, if this was a girl, if I was Ben, I would not want you really hanging around with her, to be fair. So you kind of feel sorry for Ben, but in a weird way, you kind of like wanting Wallace to be with Chantry. And it's like, well, actually, that's not right, because what he's doing is kind of skulking in, like she does say, doesn't she? Like, you're trying to split me and Ben up, and kind of has a little bit of a argument with him, a blowout, doesn't she, with him? And they don't speak for a while. And it's that kind of raw chemistry that they do have, which she's aware of, that kind of makes the film special, I guess.
Yeah, because we all want that kind of thing where we just click with somebody that's, you know, on the same level as that person, and it's just really nice just to see that bloom into fruition. Yeah.
For sure.
The animation side of things.
Oh yeah, that was a big selling point for me, obviously, because of me being working in animation and seeing all those visuals that she does, and the fact that she is an animator and that she's kind of doesn't want to step up in the big role, and she just wants to focus on being an animator. It's like, yeah, I get that, because you want to hone your craft and not be like, have all the big responsibilities of being an upper management type of thing and everything. Yeah, I can relate. Yeah,
that was really cool. Like, I know that you guys do your own art for your podcast, and you guys made us a really cool animated, I want to say character, ourselves, character of us. And it looks really good. And I don't know, watching this movie and you saying you're an animator, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the perfect movie for us to discuss. That's so cool.
Definitely is. And I know when you're on about that with like, you prefer doing the art kind of side of things instead of managing, that would not be your kind of bag. You would prefer to be the one that kind of works on the crafty side of things instead of being telling people what to do. I don't think you would really like people, that. And that's where Chantry is. She's kind of gets to a point of where she doesn't know what to do, because a boss keeps offering her this promotion and she's not ready for that. And obviously it's far away as well, so she's going to leave her fiance and all of that, and she doesn't want to be apart from him.
Although he's obviously in the film, he's moving away to do this stuff with what was it again?
He is like a copywriter of some sort, like he makes manuals and such.
Oh no, sorry, that's Wallace. I mean Ben, sorry.
Oh, he's an attorney. He does something with I don't know the world.
Yeah, United Nations, that's it, I think, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's it. Yeah, so he's traveling all over the place, and she gets all these little postcards from wherever he's stopping by, and I think that you get the sense of that, like for anybody, it must be really hard for somebody to deal with that kind of, you know, somebody who's working out in the world, and it must be tricky. And then obviously there's that sort of temptation you have with, oh well, this guy's I'm hanging out with, he's really nice, and it's kind of like, you know,
he's there, isn't he?
He's there for her.
Kind of struggling with the time difference, depending on whereabouts Ben is. They seem to keep missing one another, but Wallace is just there all the time. And it's that kind of where you think, obviously distance is meant to make the heart grow fonder, but so can an absent mind kind of thing.
Yeah. One thing that I thought was interesting is how Fool's Gold, the sandwich, brought them together.
I know, yeah.
Like, what? And the amount of feces and Elvis's intestines. Like, what the fuck? Oh, am I allowed to swear on this?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, you can do. You should have premised that. With some, they can swear, don't worry.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, I know what you were meaning, because it's like the whole idea of them getting together just over this
sandwich.
That being their thing.
And
I know.
At the end, even though Chantry says it's just fat, and it's just like, she's not for it, is she? At the beginning, she's thinking it's disgusting.
Yeah.
And then somehow grows to love it because it brings her and Wallace together.
And it's their wedding cake.
Yeah.
It looks so gross. As an American, we both have. I haven't had it. Have you had it, Zach?
I've watched this movie so many times, and every time they show the making of the thing, I just like, I feel a rock in my stomach. Just like, oh, this just does not look good. But I also want to try it. because I hate myself. So
okay. Just like that looks something. So it's a small piece and see what it's like.
Yeah.
Not a whole thing.
But I haven't even had like a peanut and jam sandwich before, so I haven't even experienced.
Whoa!
So
Oh my gosh,
Really,
that was our childhood.
I'll make this one at some point. Yeah.
So then this is a whole new level of basically a peanut butter jam sandwich, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've never had.
Have you guys tried peanut butter?
Oh yeah.
I love peanut butter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Put it in my smoothie and like with bananas and stuff like that. But I've never. So I can kind of imagine it probably should work.
Oh, it does work. Yeah. Just like peanut butter and chocolate, that works so well.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. You're gonna have to make me one tomorrow now.
Okay.
Just so that I can let them know what I think of it.
Yeah, it's good. We love it.
So to Haley's point with the fool's gold being their thing that brought them together, one thing that I read about this movie before we all got on the call is that Daniel Radcliffe has talked about his lines with Zoe Kazan. Most of them were improvised. So I want to know, was fool's gold in the script, or did they just what's a gross thing that we could bring up? Because they clearly had fun, just the chemistry between them. I think you guys have all been talking about it. Their back and forth, I think, is the best part of the movie. There's, in that middle section that Haley, you said you missed, there's a couple of montages where it's just them hanging out. Yeah. And that's my favorite part of the movie, is just them, I feel like they could be friends outside of this film, the actors themselves. And then I've looked up, does Daniel Radcliffe and Adam Driver hang out? Because I feel like they could be best friends in real life too. And so, yeah.
I think Adam Driver had one of the best lines ever in this movie. What was it? I just had sex and I'm about to eat nachos.
This is the greatest moment of my life. No, that is a great scene.
Yeah, I love also with that nachos and a banana analogy. You're the decaying banana, and Ben is this perfect nacho. It's funny.
There is some really good humour parts, which shocks me to say.
Mm-hmm.
I did quite enjoy it, apart from the window scene. I think, though, for me, I agree. It was that kind of, and I didn't know that they kind of just freestyled a little bit with their kind of talking. It is quite interesting the way they're talking to one another.
You kind of get that from how they're just having these conversations. What's the worst thing you've done on a date, or that kind of stuff, and that just feels very natural. The way they're talking about that, as if they're just friends hanging out.
And I think that gives it a little bit more than a rom-com would, where it's these staged lines that what's going to be coming every 2 minutes, and it's oh yeah, okay, we've just seen this one, you've seen all of them, whereas this was made it a bit more special.
Yeah, you very much believed them.
Yeah,
in the roles
for sure.
I've also thought of one other scene that I think kind of gets Wallace and Chantry's relationship to a next level is when they're on the beach. And obviously you've got Alan and Nicole, who are the little bit of a pushy friend scenario, where they can see that something's blossoming and they want to see what's going to happen. So obviously they go skinny dipping. And obviously Chantry and Wallace decide to follow, which seems a little bit strange, really, to say that they're quite reserved characters. You wouldn't think they would do that, so to speak. And then obviously Alan and Nicole nick their clothes and drive off and leave them to sleep on the beach for the night.
I know, that was I was a little upset about that, just because she's still together with Ben, and I don't know. I would be very uncomfortable if I was in that situation, and I had a platonic friendship and they just went ahead and did that. And Zoe's, it was funny they did it, but it's also kind of oh, you should have come back earlier that night, because Zoe was not happy, or what's her name, Chantry.
Yeah. Which I think, so sometimes when I watch them, I feel very uncomfortable watching that scene, especially when they come back and the clothes are gone. But I think that that scene ends up adding some weight to it, because you can have these goofy rom-com moments where the friends steal the clothes, but that has that can have some serious repercussions. And it's another scene where I really like Chantry because she clearly has feelings for Wallace, but she's trying to stick to her principles of, no, this isn't right. Like, this is kind of shitty, if you will, that we are in this situation. We've gotten ourselves here and our friends have done. I don't know. I feel like it makes it a little bit more authentic when you have that awkwardness that feels real instead of the forced awkwardness, if you will.
Yeah, because if in another film, it probably would be like a sort of like a quick cut to like, oh, the friends stole our clothes, and then cut to like next morning or something, and then they're just like asleep in the bag or whatever. Whereas in this, they actually kind of show the fact that they're having this little quibble amongst themselves, and then it's like, yeah, okay, that's real, because people would be pissed off if that was the thing.
I still love the fact that you've got Daniel Radcliffe with a stick in front of his area, and he's like, and I'm the ass here because, you know, I haven't got a blanket, I'm not warm, it's cold, and yet you're kind of having a little bit of a fit about it, that his friends have stolen his clothes and I'm the ass. And he's like, so kind of do like how he secretly likes the idea of him being left alone on the beach, but then he sees how upset she's getting, that he kind of gets in a huff as well, and gets in a mood, and they both slam the doors when the friends bring the clothes back the next day.
Yeah, so it didn't work to how they thought it was going to with their work. Obviously.
I think they must have thought that they were going to hook up or something, and that was going to be it, and it really didn't pan out the way they hoped.
Which makes it less of a normal rom-com, because in a normal rom-com setting, typical one, it would be like, oh yeah, that happened, they had sex or whatever, and then it's all...
well, maybe that's because as well, Alan and Nicole are completely different characters, aren't they, to Chantry and Wallace, because they are like, literally, didn't they meet the first night and then they were kissing on the sofa or something?
For each other,
and she had a boyfriend too, so they have a different perspective of things, and I think that's okay. Whereas, you know, they have different, I don't know, just different people.
Yeah.
It would have worked for them, that's for sure.
It really would have done.
I mean, those two, Adam Driver and Mackenzie Davis, their chemistry is also amazing. Like, it's just, I know that it's probably the easiest one to latch onto, but anytime they're on screen, I get excited just because it's, what kind of chaos are we going to see now?
And it's always one step, it's like next step in the relationship, isn't it? You know, well, they're engaged and then they're married and then they're pregnant.
They move so quickly, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like they've literally only just met at the beginning, and obviously you can see Chantry and Wallace's relationship kind of slowly growing and blossoming, and you think, you think that this Alan and Nicole's relationship is just not going to last a little bit.
That's what I did back in my mind, thinking, is this going to be like one of those things where it's going to shatter for them, and then it's Wallace and Chantry going to be the happy couple at the end, and then or something like that. But obviously, no, it's thing. But that's okay. I'm fine with that. You know, if they really do, the characters do love each other in the film, then that's fine. I'm okay with that. Sort of my cynical side, I suppose, and kind of thinking watching the welfare with people's relationships. I found it funny that there was obviously two film references within the film as well. We've got the thing that they're watching on TV with his nephew. Yeah. And saying, close your eyes. Okay, you can open your eyes, but he's still watching. Which I'd let my kid do, I think.
What? No.
It's a great film, that is.
I haven't seen it, but I didn't really like the bit on the TV, to be honest.
Oh, that's my favorite part. The CPR. I remember when me and Zach did that for our podcast, I lost my mind at that scene because I didn't see it coming at all. It's still, I never do now. Just one of those unexpected scenes with the AED and I'm like, no, or the defibrillator.
Yeah. And then obviously then at that point, the mother comes back and they change the channel. And then the mother just sounds like she just puts it back on the thing anyway. So obviously they're very much okay with nothing too scary, obviously, and they don't deem that as a scary film.
Would it scare me?
I don't know. It might do. I think at some point we'll probably cover this on an episode at some
Depends
point.
what you're scared of. If you like monster movies, I don't think monster movies are too scary. They're freaky, but like paranormal stuff is the things that scare me. Stuff that you can't actually experience. No, thank you. I don't want to deal with a ghost or a demon.
I agree with you. I think
Yeah.
that's the thing. If you can kind of see something coming at you, at least then that's not so bad. And if it's something that's still alive, where a ghost, what can you do if it's going to come after you? It's already dead, so you can't
Nothing.
kill it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Grab the pastor, holy water. That's about it.
I think an underrated part of this movie, I mean, I know this movie probably isn't too big, but I love the relationship between Wallace and his sister.
Mhm.
Like that whole thing, and then him being the father figure. They probably could have done a little bit more with that, but
I agree. Yeah.
The Heimlich stuff was funny, and just the like scene of her eating the sandwich even after she's choking. And
yeah. Although I do think that was another instance though of where it was like, where's that going with? I feel like it was like a bit like the window thing. That was a bit like, that's a bit odd choice to have that in, but I don't know. Just that felt a bit like, why is that there?
I think some parts of it, because it was so kind of the romance with it, and it was a bit like melancholy, and then you had like these really dramatic scenes which were like I don't know, somewhat woke you up within the movie, if you get me.
Like surprise.
You wouldn't have even expected. Like, I was not thinking that she was going to be choking on her sandwich, even though she was talking while eating. I didn't think that was going to happen. Like, if somebody paused it and went, right, what are you going to think is going to happen now?
What happens next? Yeah.
You would never have guessed that would have been the case. You were like, you looked at me like, but it still was nothing compared to the falling out of the window. That was like, I could not. It was amazing. It probably made us laugh, didn't it, though, in some places?
It didn't.
No, it can't say it didn't make us laugh. But I think as well, the other scene where you were on about just towards the end of the film, where you get obviously Wallace deciding to go to Dublin, why he thinks that's a good idea is beyond me. And then he gets punched in the face by Ben, and that step fall as well.
Like, ooh.
It kind of there's a word that I'm thinking of that reminds me of, where it is more like a cartoony kind of step, the way that they think of like the action kind of gets involved in it.
I think I know what you mean. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, kind of surreal, kind of like this isn't normal, but it's happening in a real life situation.
Pratfall?
Is that what it's called?
I think when someone's really going for it in terms of stumbling, exaggerating. Yeah. That's the word. Yeah.
I don't know why he went to Dublin though. I don't know what he thought was gonna happen. Like, but I think that was like the worst decision Wallace probably made out of the whole movie. He would have been better just staying put and waiting for Chantry to come back, and then she would have seen that, obviously, because I think you kind of get to the conclusion I did, that obviously Ben really likes it in Dublin, he likes it where he is, and there's this woman as obviously he's walking her back and he's got his arm around her, kind of implying that there's something a little bit more there, I felt.
Yeah, without giving it too much away in terms of like, is this actually really happening, or is this just a coincidence that it just happens to be walking home, like, oh, I'm going to take you upstairs kind of thing, but to your own place, not into my bed kind of thing. So you never really know with that, do you? There's a sense, but there's a sort of assumption there, perhaps.
Yeah.
I thought something that would be fun is the Cool Whip idea, or like how you can come up with a lot of ideas for like the whipped cream. Maybe we could go around and say a name. I don't know. They came up with some good ones.
They did? So, no, you're really good at this. I feel like I'm going to be the weak link, because you're sometimes like, if you're wanting to play a game, you'll say, oh, tell me a name. And I'm like, I'll give you all the common names there is out there. But yeah, definitely. Shall we give it a go?
Yes.
Okay.
We all got it.
Ellie can go first, I think.
Oh, no. I came up. Let me see. I'm trying to think of ones that they hopefully didn't say, because I keep coming into mind with I don't know why, but the term daddy has been popularized a lot. So I thought of Puff Daddy. Because of Diddy.
Yeah.
Maybe that. Zach is so humiliated.
Well, no, I'm thinking about my favorite ones that they said were the ones where it was like a little bit questionable. And the first thing that came to my mind when you said we should go around is I was going to say that good white cream. Because
Yeah.
All I've got in my head at the moment is it doesn't make any sense, but puff pass. But no sense in terms of what it's supposed to be promoting. But yeah, there you go.
Is it the whipped cream in the can?
Yeah,
is that what we're trying to promote?
Yeah.
Why am I thinking of Mr. Whip? What is
Like
that?
ice cream.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
because Mr. Whip's coming into my head.
Is a thing in I don't know if it's in the States.
Oh, Mr. Whippy.
It's like a UK thing. Mr. Whippy is like an ice cream vendor type thing. So that's what you're thinking of.
Maybe, but then I can't really have that one, can I? Because it's already been taken.
Mrs. Whippy.
Mrs. Whippy, there we go.
I think the best ones can kind of be like the double entendres, if you will, just the ones that are maybe a little bit questionable, but
yeah, definitely, yeah,
for sure.
Oh man,
yeah, and I say the other film that they show within the film as well, the Princess Bride, which obviously that's how they kind of like have that meeting up, and what coincidence we're happening to be at the same movie theater at the same time, which is kind of quite sweet.
Yeah, the little meet cute that you were having rom-coms.
Yeah.
I do think it's quite sweet actually for them to go on to a cinema. Obviously at the moment where we are, our cinemas aren't open and we really are missing it.
I don't know about you guys. Are you still able to go to the cinemas where you are? Or
I mean, they're open.
Yeah.
Haley, are they?
I don't know. They were open for a minute here, but we didn't go.
Right.
I don't know. I'm kind of uncomfortable sharing a room with other people right now.
Yeah, I think they did reopen.
I do miss it,
didn't they? But we didn't go because I think you had to sit with a mask on, and we were like, I don't really think I want to do that. I could sit at home and be
for
a lot safer.
2 or 3 hours in the cinema with hurting your ears and all that kind of stuff. It's like, no, thanks.
But I think beforehand, I've never been to the cinema on my own. I'm not one to go on my own, I guess. I know you have,
a couple
haven't
of times,
you?
yeah. It's not too bad. But
I love doing that. It's one of my favorite things. I don't know. It's just something different. Like you can laugh, you can cry without being judged. I don't know. I like it. What about you, Zach? Have you ever gone to the movies alone?
Yeah, I've seen a few by myself. I mean, I saw one of my favorite movies by myself because I just went in the middle of the day. I saw Zodiac, the David Fincher movie. I like going to the movie theaters. That's sometimes a little too expensive, but I have no interest in going to a public place right now.
No,
because
I agree.
Yeah, I don't blame you at all with that. I think beforehand we used to go quite regularly, didn't we?
I've tried to, yeah.
Yeah, see something new out and stuff like that. But no, right now I think it kind of puts you off, doesn't it? Because it's like we can't even go into our family's house at the moment or anything like that. So it's like, why would I go into somewhere where everybody else is if I just want to spend time with my family? But with the movie that you were on about, Paul, you said I would like it, didn't you? The movie that
Princess Bride.
Yeah, Princess Bride. Yeah.
So that movie's actually a bit of a contention between Haley and I, because I love The Princess Bride. I think it's a great movie, and Haley's not as big of a fan, so I've got my work cut out to try to convert her.
We'll see. It's one of those movies. I don't know about how it is where you guys are, but it's just very hyped. And when I watched it, I was expecting the best movie ever. And I don't like when people just, I don't know.
I get what you mean, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. I wasn't into it. I didn't think it lived up to the expectations. But I don't know. I can be talked into things. Me and Zach have been able to see things from a different light for how you explain it. And it's always interesting to hear what people think of it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's I think the first time I saw it was university and people were bigging up and everything. I thought it was I wouldn't say it was a terrible movie or anything like that. It wasn't like I wasn't, wow, this is the greatest thing ever made kind of thing. But it's definitely, I can understand why people like it. It's got those kind of like memorable quotes and the kind of quirks that play out in the film and all that stuff. So I kind of get why people do really like the film. I see why it's sort of like a cult following type of thing. But I fact that it kind of reaches both male and female audiences, because obviously the title, not to be stereotypical here, but it kind of has that sense of it being a more female orientated movie title kind of thing. So you'd kind of expect that, but it kind of like works for both parties, which is kind of nice. I don't know if you agree with that or at all.
Yeah, I didn't see it until I was in college. I know there's people who like grew up with that movie, and the only reason I kind of latched onto it is because I watched it as part of I'm a former teacher, and I watched it as like a training tool to like teach students about plot. And so I have fond memories of watching it with students and like going through it, not just watching it on my own, on a Saturday or whatever. And that's, I think, why I got into a little bit more. Otherwise, I think, to what you guys are talking about, it maybe works a little bit better if you're younger and you've seen it. So
yeah, perhaps. Yeah.
Definitely think it's nice that Wallace is going to a little bit of a rom-com. It kind of shows his soft side, which he has quite predominantly.
The hopeless romantic that's in him, which I kind of relate to, because I was very much like that. I guess I still am a little bit.
Oh, what are you trying to say, Paul?
In the sense of like, like always looking out like for that kind of like, oh, that's really sweet, and like open for the best of things. But yeah, very much when I was younger, I was very much gelled with those kind of characters in films.
You could relate. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Because you're quite shy normally. I think the first time me and Paul ever met, he probably strung about maybe, I don't even think it was a sentence, possibly. I think it was a hi and a bye. And there might be a little bit in between, but I think it was more me talking to you.
It probably was, yeah. I can definitely vouch that.
Bless you. So is there anything else that you kind of pick up that makes you really, really love the film? I think I've kind of said about my little laughable moments, which are quite surreal to me, but then there is some quite little gem moments as well, isn't there?
Yeah, so if you guys got anything else to add?
I don't know.
Haley?
My only comment is her sister is kind of the worst.
I completely forgot about her to the back of my head.
She's forgettable. That's for sure.
I'm so glad I don't have a sister like that, like literally just flinging herself onto any man basically that would give her attention, isn't it? It's shocking, because it's like I think as a sister you should know your sisters quite well, and you should know that kind of relationship, and you can tell that her sister knows Chantry likes Wallace, and I think she's kind of pushing her buttons a little bit to say, oh, I'm going to date Wallace, and you can see that Chantry doesn't want her to.
Yeah.
Still going to do it anyways.
Yeah, it's a different thing when I don't know. It could be that their relationship is so good. Like, she doesn't mind if he dates other people, but when it's like her sister, it's like, oh, that gets, difficult if she's dating your best friend.
Exactly. If you break up.
Yeah, just make things more awkward.
Yeah, I think I struggle also with the sister. The only redeeming part with her, the only time I was like, okay, I kind of like that she's here, is towards the end when Chantry is breaking down and she's getting ready to leave. She's talking about how, I'm not going to have you. And I felt like the sister at that moment grew up a little bit and was like, okay, my sister needs me to kind of say, hey, you should go after Wallace. And was a good comforting presence. But the whole bit with like the making out with Wallace, I was like, this is stereotypical rom-com stuff. And we're going to get the fantasy of Chantry watching. And I think it just adds to like, I don't know. I forget about her sometimes too.
I only remembered her because I had her in my notes.
She's not a pleasant character, but I do think I even said this to you, didn't I? And I think Chantry is so much prettier than her sister. Like they do kind of look related, but I feel like her sister, I don't actually even know her name. She's just one of those typical.
Was it Dahlia? I think it was.
Was it?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Quite a nice name.
But I thought Chantry, I don't know, because she's so naturally pretty, whereas I think her sister was a bit more put on.
Yeah, more. I don't know if she was the lead role in this, would that make things different? Would that make it less believable, do you think? I don't know.
It'd make it worse.
Right. Yeah.
No, I do think that this is Zoe Kazan's movie. Like, Daniel Radcliffe's phenomenal, but I think this movie works because you have Zoe Kazan as Chantry. Like, just so good. So
Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
no, I don't really have much else. I love that they end up together at the end. It's predictable that it's going to happen. I love their little banter at the airport once they get back from Taiwan.
Yeah.
And
I actually did get confused by that banter. I don't know if I was like, wait a minute, have they like paused in time now? They've never met one another at the party, and this is where I was going like way overthinking this, thinking, and then they've just bumped into each other until
like another scenario.
Yeah. I was
Yeah,
just
like a
running away with
literal
it.
like what if kind of thing. Like what if
I
this
think
was
that's
just a
where
different.
Thought it was going like if the
Mhm.
and then she said she was engaged, so I was like, oh, she's engaged to Ben. That's where my head initially went,
Mhm.
because it kind of had these moments. I was playing out different scenarios, and technically it's like you said, I didn't think about that. You made me sound clever there with the what if title. Thanks, Paul.
You're welcome.
got the galaxy brain going the entire time. You've got no.
Definitely. I think obviously with the what if, I mean, you've always said this, haven't we? Because like you're from, probably if I mention where he's from, you're probably not going to know.
No, a different part of the country basically from where we're
Yeah.
based living now. But it's kind of like, what if I never moved up here? Would we have still found each other, or would I, like that kind of scenario, as as people do tend to think about.
Yeah.
Like, what if I never moved here? What if I never did such and such?
Exactly. So we were kind of playing that what if game after we'd watched it, like to see certain scenarios of your life. How would it pan out if you didn't kind of like, for example, with Wallace, it was like, what if I hadn't dropped out of medical school when he did, and then obviously kind of then rejoined it back up again. So it's quite interesting to see your life as that, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So another kind of personal connection for this movie with me is that my wife Amanda and I, we were friends before we got together, and she was with someone else at the time, and we were just good friends. And then when their relationship ended, then we got together, and we've played that what if game of like, because she was also a teacher and she ended up in the classroom right next to me. So we've talked about like, what if we had never met, where would we be at? And we actually found out that like 3 or 4 years before we even met each other, we were in the same place at the same time, in Iowa. She,
Where was she in Iowa?
She was on, I went to the University of Iowa in Iowa City, and on the first day of classes of like my junior year at that college, she was there visiting the writing school because Kurt Vonnegut used to be a teacher at the University of Iowa. So she went to go visit kind of their writing seminar stuff. And so we were both like in the same general vicinity on the same day. We just didn't run into each other. So it's fun to play that game of like, there are little times where your whole life could go in a different direction, and you could have the scenario where, maybe Wallace doesn't get with Chantry, but Chantry stays with Ben, and then they bump into each other. So, yeah.
It's fascinating how the world works, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It really is. Because like the thought of you two being in the same place at the same time, but you didn't meet. It's like, what if you'd met at that point, beforehand? And I know obviously you can't change the future or anything like that, but it passed, yes. Yeah. Or the future, depending on what the outcome is. But it's that kind of magical kind of moment where you could have met one another. You've kind of got a little bit of a rom-com there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. Yes, for sure.
What about you, Hayley? Have you got any sort of similar things where that's happened with
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, I would say me and my husband's story is kind of a rom-com. We've known each other since we were in first grade, and
Wow.
we've liked each other on and off, like throughout all of our grade school years, high school. And we got together my senior year, and I left in the middle of the senior year, moved to Washington. And he joined the military, and now we're married. We've been together for 8 years and been married for 3. So,
Oh wow, that is amazing.
yeah.
Oh, that is so cute. I can imagine this little like romance happening at such a young
Yeah. We've known each other for most of our life. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's something that you could make like a TV series out of, almost, kind of like.
Yes, for sure.
Absolutely.
Oh,
That's really cool.
that's so cute. I wish I'd known you when you were little.
Oh, I've talked to my wife, and we've established that if we met each other in high school, we probably wouldn't have been friends or liked each other, because she was too cool and I was such a big dork, and I had a afro, like huge afro in high school, so I was insufferable. Right, Haley?
No comment. Yeah. How did you guys meet?
Oh, so ours is not that romantic now, is it?
No, not compared to these guys.
No, ours is a little bit more with technology. So we actually met online, which I used to hate saying initially when we first met. I was like, I think it was when that wasn't the norm. So we've been together about 8 years now, haven't we?
Yeah.
And I was like, I used to cringe when I used to make up scenarios of how I'd met him. Like, oh, I've met him at university, because we were still in uni, weren't we, at that time?
Well, you were.
You're a little bit older than me.
I was past that.
So we actually met online, and we spoke for, you were the only person I actually spoke to online, which I didn't actually see anybody else. So I was like, I don't want to meet random men I don't know, and I don't want to be killed as well, because I was really scared of some like random man.
Yes. It's a valid thing to be scared of.
Absolutely. Online stuff is terrifying. So
yeah. So it's like, I don't want to meet anyone who I don't really like. So I felt like they had to speak to me for a while for me to feel comfortable. So I think it was 9 months you ended up having to speak to me online before I would meet you. This sounds a bit catfishy nowadays, like, but I did send you my pictures. We never spoke on the phone either.
No, it was all just through messaging.
It was all through messaging, and I really, really liked you. And then, do you know what he did? This is the least rom-com-y thing. Said, if you don't meet me, I'm going to meet somebody else, and because they're willing to meet me. And I said, well, go then, didn't I? I was so heartbroken already because I really liked you, even though I hadn't met you. And you went and met this girl, and she stood
me up.
Stood you up.
So maybe that's like a rom-com scenario. Then it's like meant to be that this girl stood me up.
Oh, I was so happy that day, and I know that sounds so horrible, but I was.
The world was trying to set you guys together, and they made it happen.
Yeah. Like, what if she had turned up and then you never met me?
No, yeah.
You know.
Who knows?
What does she look like?
I can't even remember.
I'm glad she stood you up.
That was the correct answer. I don't remember.
But I'm very, very happy I have met you.
Oh, thank you. Happy I met you. So you want to put up with me for the rest of your life, though?
Yeah, go on then. Okay. With that being said, I think we'll go to the scorings, if that's okay with the film. We tend to do ours out of 10. So if you can give the film on a scoring based on that, that'd be great.
10 being the best,
obviously.
1 being the lowest. You never know.
Yeah.
Normally, I make Paul start first. But I don't know if you wanted to get your guests first.
We'll go the guests first. Yeah.
Okay.
So whoever, Zach or Haley, can go first.
I give it a 7.
Okay. Yeah. I agree with something similar to that, so I don't feel so bad now. What are you?
Yeah, I'd give it an 8. It's an 8 for me. It's like I said, it's not a perfect movie. I wouldn't put it at like the top tier, but it's a good comfort movie. So 8.
I think that's just because he likes the main lady. That's what it is. It's an 8 just because of her.
Oh, she's my girl crush, so I'm with that. She gets a 7.5 for Zoe Kazan. I love her.
So I think I'm going to go next because I feel like you're probably going to be a little bit lower than me. I feel. I'm gauging on your unrom-commy man thing. So I think for me, I was looking at like a 6 or a 7. That's where I was gauging. I think the reason why it would only go down to the 6 would be the window scene, even though it made me laugh so much. I don't know if I was in a bit of hysteria because I was like, this cannot.
And threw you for a loop, I think.
It really did, didn't it? But I don't think now looking back at it, it kind of didn't spoil the film because now I've got a bit more of a connection towards the film just from laughing at it. So I think for me, I'd say a 6.5 would be my scoring. Obviously, it's got Daniel Radcliffe in it. You do get to see his bottom as well. I just thought I'd say
that deserves another half point, I'd say.
So that is definitely a perk. So but it could creep up to a 7 here if we carry on with just seeing bottoms. But yeah, no, I think a solid 6.5. I think it's got definitely a good rom-com base. It's definitely different to your normal rom-coms, and I think you've spoilt rom-coms for me.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, because I think my old self would have scored this probably a 9, whereas you've ruined me. So thank you for that.
Then I think if you're like, I like this, but it's still, I think you'll really like The Big Sick. That is a all around, like, I think that it either won or was nominated for an Oscar just because of how well written it is. And I don't think it has any crazy stuff where it's, people falling out of windows. And so
it has one joke though that's just, I don't know, I think it's the funniest thing ever, but yeah, you'll have to watch it to find out.
Yeah, we'll do.
You know what I'm talking about, Zach? What part?
I don't. Is there a word you can give me that?
No, it would ruin it. Okay. Let's just say
Okay.
It was a tragic day in the U.S.
It's not window falling out equivalent, but yes, it's
okay.
At least we're safe to know that then hopefully I'll enjoy that.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
go on, Paul. What about your scores?
6.5.
Okay, so you're joining with me.
Yeah, siding with you on that one. Yeah. So yeah,
Nice.
I did enjoy it for what it was. Obviously, it was a bit up there as opposed to your regular rom-com thing. So it had that going for it, and you believe the chemistry, as you said, from the two leads and everything. So it was nice on that. Yeah, no, it was just a nice little enjoyable watch, I think. And
I think what I really liked about it is I'm sometimes, and I think I did have that head on where I was expecting a little bit more to happen, but it's one of those you can put in the background and it's nice to watch. You're not having to. I was overthinking, but you didn't actually have to overthink. Because we've been putting on quite a few films at the moment, haven't you, where there's a trick outcome.
Yeah, like some sort of weird twist or something.
Yeah.
But
and
I wasn't expecting that from this at all, but it was, I knew it was going to be like a standard. It wasn't a standard rom-com, but it was, it was just really nice take on it, which
Definitely.
I really liked.
Yeah. So thank you for recommending it for us to watch.
Yeah.
I did actually really enjoy it, even though there were certain things that made me laugh. But I think it was weirdly, I don't know if I've seen it or not. I can't remember if I actually have.
I guess we'll never truly know, really. But
and I think we've probably seen it both not together.
Maybe, yeah.
Because I feel like I'd have remembered seeing something with you
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you don't normally watch that many with me.
Maybe we watched it at the same time in different places, like a rom-com scenario.
Maybe.
You never know.
Thank you guys for having us on. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah,
we'll have to have you guys on our show because I don't know if you've noticed, but we sometimes talk about movies on our podcast. So.
Sometimes.
I noticed that. No. Yeah, no, absolutely. We'd love to be guests on your podcast as well. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So thank you very much for joining us. Where can people find you guys on the socials?
Yeah, on Twitter, it's at siblings. What is it? Oh, I know what it is. Sorry, Zach. Siblings laugh. And then Instagram, it's us laughing at us. And you can find our podcast on any platform. It's laughing at ourselves.
Brilliant. So definitely go and check them out. They're amazing. And obviously they put up with us for an hour, so they must be. So thank you.
No, thank you guys so much for having us on. This was a blast. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. And of course, you can find our own episodes on wherever you get your podcast from as well. And we're on Instagram and Twitter mostly under the handle SP_filmviewers.
Yep.
So thank you very much, guys, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll speak to you next time.
Speak to you next time.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.